Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
Hi, I'm Nathan Norman Brandt from the New Entertainment System podcast, a show where we use a robot to give us prompts to then design video games. Anything from an open world Marvel dating sim to a Halo cooking game that's a gritty reboot. We usually have guests from the games podcast scene, the games industry, or the games journalism scene. And we design 2 games every Monday, and they're about half hour. They're really fun. So enough about me. I'm here to talk about one of my favorite games in recent memory, which is super weird because I'm not into games like this, but quarantine happened, and quarantine makes fools of us all. And the way that it's made a fool of me is I'm weirdly into Fortnite now. Like I said, I'm normally not into shooters. I normally don't really even play games with guns in them, to be honest with you. But as an excuse to hang out with friends, this has been really awesome. And so viewing through that lens, I'm going to talk about why somebody who is like, I'm going to be 30 and I don't really play a lot of shooters, why I like the game. So here we go. The first thing is that it brings people together. Like I said, everybody is in their houses kind of cooped up right now. And this is a really easy and free, mind you, way to play a video game with your friends. That's pretty low engagement if you want it to be. This doesn't have to be like a Call of Duty, obsessing over your KD ratio or anything like that. It's like, I'm just going to squat up with a couple buddies and, drop where we dropping boys, and then you just drop and you just kind of chat and you shoot the shit and shoot some other players as well. It's a pretty low stakes, low impact environment. It's nice and chill to just have a drink and play with some people. But if you don't want to play with, or you're not able to play with people that this is one of those games that is not necessary to have voice comms to play with other people. It takes the ping system popularized in Apex Legends, so that you can kind of call out enemies, call out items, call out structures, anything like that, so that you can communicate with a squad if you're playing with squads that don't know you, and you can effectively communicate without voice comms, which is great because this game is typically played by a lot younger people. So you don't really want people that are my age to be mingling around with 12-year-olds talking to them on voice comms. That's not really a healthy environment to start out with. So I think it's really great that you don't need voice comms. And this game is infinitely replayable. I am level 126 or something, whatever that means for this battle pass that's currently out. It's fun to just go in by yourself. It's fun to just DM one person on Twitter and be like, hey, do you want to play Fortnite? It's fun to get, 2 squads of 4 people and just kind of hang out in a Discord server and talk while you're playing. That's really fun as well. And it's just you can play it on your phone. You can sync a Bluetooth controller to your phone and play it that way, or you can play it on your 4K HDR display. It's really infinitely scalable and really accessible for people. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about it as well. The other thing that makes it infinitely replayable is that the maps change over time. Anybody listening to this probably knows, but every season, however they define it, something happens on the map, something changes, whether it's drastic or it's subtle. There's always something to be like, this new thing happens in June and we're going to go see what's different. I heard they were going to flood the place, or I heard they were going to get rid of this area. What's new in this place? So in this season, they added spies. And so there's a bunch of little spy places all over the place. They have NPCs there that you can go and get really, really good guns from and things like that. And it's just a cool little challenge to try and see if you can take down these new enemies that are showing up on the map. There's been zombies before, and there was Thanos before, and Star Wars stuff. There's so many cool exclusive things. Like the lightsabers from Star Wars completely change how you play the game in a crazy way. It almost makes it like a platinum game where you're jumping around and dodging and doing dodge rolls and backflips and stuff like that in this third-person shooter battle royale. It's so fun to just see what's new, to see if you can have fun with the new thing that's there. Another thing that's great about it is of course, skill-based matchmaking. So if you're jumping in and you're worried, oh my God, I'm just they're going to totally wipe the floor with me because I'm new, you're probably going to get paired up with new people or even bots in your first couple of matches. So they really want you to think that it's as accessible as it actually is. They want you to get over that hump of the stigma that comes with a popular game like this. I also really like, as I mentioned before, that it's pretty safe for kids with the no needing voice comms, as well as there are some really cool parental controls to gate people from buying things that you deem unnecessary. So like, I believe there's a companion app that like, if your kid wants to buy this new skin, like you'll get like a little notification of like, you know, hey, Johnny wants to buy this skin. Is that okay? And you can say no, and then they won't be able to buy it. And then you talk about it later. But in the moment, your kid doesn't buy like a $20 skin without your permission. And of course you have to set that up yourselves, but the tools are there for you to take advantage of that. It's also safe for kids because it's not really all that violent. When people get shot, there isn't like blood splatters. When you die, you just get like hologrammed away. It's kind of unclear about what that even means, but you know, you're not shooting off limbs. This isn't Mortal Kombat. This isn't even PUBG. It's very light. And that sort of goes into my next point of the visual style. It is, you know, all the characters are semi-realistic, but it's got a nice cartoony nature to it, almost like a Pixar movie, I would say, in that things obviously represent things that exist in the real world, but they're a little bit more cartoony. They're a little bit exaggerated. It's nice and bright and colorful, which is really refreshing in kind of an industry that's saturated with, you know, quote unquote gritty, quote unquote dark, quote unquote adult games that try to make you feel, you know, totally badass while you're playing this, but really you're just clicking on heads of other players. So it's really cool to have that fun spirit of the game communicated in the visual style as well. Like I mentioned before, there were Star Wars things. There's also like in a squad, we can have Batman and Deadpool and Kylo Ren and John Wick against, you know, a litany of other folks. This is not even including all of the different weird costumes that you can get in the game that are just Fortnite ones. I love the like crossover appeal of like, oh man, Harley Quinn is in this week. I think that's just really cool, and it keeps the fun going, and it feeds into that infinitely replayable aspect of it. Another thing that I really like about it is the Epic creator codes. And what that is you can buy skins, and you can buy items, and you can buy, you know, whatever cosmetic stuff that you want for the game. And if you'd like, you can put in somebody's Epic creator code. And what that does is it gives somebody that is like either an influencer or a content creator or whatever word you want to plug in there, it gives them a little kickback to say like, hey, you got this person into playing our stuff. Here's a little bit of money because that person you got into this game, they spent a little money. We want to spread the joy, spread the wealth there. And speaking of that, this money makes obviously ungodly amounts of money with how popular it is, right? And so one of the things I really like that Epic has done is they obviously have the Epic Game Store, which is the launcher that you can play Fortnite in, as well as, you know, more and more games as time goes on. They are able to pay it forward with a lot of the money that they get from these, from, you know, the popularity of this game, to give devs a better price break. Most digital marketplaces take 30% of every purchase for the platform holder, whether that's going to be PlayStation or Xbox or Nintendo. And if I'm not mistaken, Epic only takes 12%. So you are able to make a lot more money on your game. Granted, it's a smaller platform, but Epic also gives a lot of money to devs for timed exclusivity on their launcher. And if you're playing on PC, why not just download Epic Game Store? You get 2 free games every month, I believe. And they're able to give that money to devs that are up and coming, instead of just kind of create a large, you know, Dragon Den-like collection of money that they're not going to use for anything. They also give a really awesome kickback to Unreal Engine developers, but that's not something that I really feel like I have any sort of perspective on to talk about in any sort of way, shape, or form. The last thing that I'll talk about, which makes this like kind of a necessarily Fortnite thing, like no other game is doing this. There was recently a Travis Scott concert. Now, I wouldn't classify myself as a Travis Scott fan. There's been Steve Aoki. There's been a couple other ones, and I'm sure there's going to be more in this new party royale that they started, where it's a little island you go to and you just hang out with your friends. It's almost like PlayStation Home, if you like. And it really sells Fortnite as a place or a social network rather than just a game where you shoot people, which I think is so cool. Like, watching a concert in Fortnite was unlike anything that I've ever experienced. in that you're able to move around in 3D space. There's things happening everywhere that you look. Your controller is rumbling in your hands and stuff like that. It's really a singular experience you can't get in any other kind of medium. And all of the live events that happen in Fortnite, whether it's a concert or not, they all hit on that kind of thing. Whether it was Chapter 1 closing and the black hole sucking everything up, or it's the missile that happened earlier in the game. These things are completely unique to Fortnite, and I think even if you don't play the game, I think you're probably being a little bit of like a contrarian, tryhardy kind of person if you just hate Fortnite on its face. Because from all of the things that I mentioned, it is such a welcoming and friendly environment to just come and play in. And I'm not a person that likes a whole lot of story in my games. I like to be just in the world, playing, controlling characters, communicating with the game via mechanics. And so that's why Fortnite is one of my favorite games that's come out in a long time, and something that I'm probably going to be playing for a long time to come. So that's it from me. If you want to find me on Twitter, my @ is two-headed giant, TWO headed giant. And my podcast is the New Entertainment System podcast. Every week, we bring 2 games that we were randomly designed from a robot with the help of a guest. And that is at the NES Pod on Twitter. So that's going to be it for me. Hope you have a good day, guys. Happy gaming.
It all started with a mouse, and in the last 100 years, the magic of Disney has filled our homes and hearts and defined generations. Join the Doe Up in Dreams podcast as they take a deep dive into the Disney vault and examine the history, artistry, controversy, and even drama behind your favorite Disney films with host Maddie Limerick. With guests ranging from Imagineers, Broadway stars, voice actors, and even your favorite certain POV hosts. You'll want to tune in each episode to see what magic they'll dig up next. Find out more at certainpov.com and wherever you find podcasts.
CPOV.
certainpov.com.